All right, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? So, Ice Cube, he's been on social media. He's been promoting the contract of Black America, and seeing this on Facebook, Twitter, and what it is that he wants to challenge the 117th Congress, okay, about this whole upcoming election, which is very serious, between President Trump and presidential candidate Joe Biden. Okay, so Democratic Party and the Republican Party. So right now, we as African Americans, we've been told to vote Democrat, we've been voted to vote for this particular person, Joe Biden. But at the same time, it's just like, okay, well, say if he does get in office, what is he going to do? Is he going to reform anything? Is he going to do anything that's going to help Black America to move forward and eliminate, the wealth gap that's between, our counterparts and whites and other different races of people, man? And how are we going to have hold weight within our vote? And I like how he's speaking up on these things. Even though I'm not too like pro for like celebrity speaking on our behalf, but at least he's backing it up. It seems like he has a team and he has a sound mind when it comes to, for African Americans to go out here and to have a equal playing field here in America. And I read a contract there and I actually signed it, and it's really good. It's just actually my support. I was reading the suggestions in the comments. He had a lot of educated people in there from all over the world that was really supporting this. And the whole synopsis of it is basically, it's tackling the heart of racism, tackling the heart of racial, economic, social justice, on judicial reform. Let's talk about financial reform, oversight, personal data and credit. I mean, he has literally like 13 things, and also two black responsibilities, and reforming and getting back through within our phases of African American males back into the households. And so I want to just go into like a little bit of detail of each and every single one of them. It's not video's not gonna be too long, but what I really like about how he definitely had a team and they actually put together, and number one was the opportunity and representation. So based on my knowledge, after reading this, it says he talked about and implement the ideas of affirmative action. So affirmative action in schools and public and private sector had people have equal opportunity like they did in the 60s and the 70s, that to be able to go to private schools and go to graduate school, go to law school, go to medical school, regardless of their race or ethnic background, and the financial, scrutinies. And he said, it will be beneficial for student funding in states on an equal basis instead of paid by local property taxes. And Juneteenth to become a federal holiday. For those who don't know, that Juneteenth is basically, it was supposed to be honor of the liberation of African Americans from slavery, in America. I think it was started from Galveston, Texas in 1865. Number two, he talks about the bank lending reform. And as the bank lending reform is to be regulated to require banks to lend a percentage of all loan and credit categories on an equal basis to the black population and banks and the banks to serve. So I think that's a really good thing too, because we should have an equal opportunity, for us, whites getting like black again like loans to start off, small businesses, little things like that, to actually have an opportunity to build up the economic structure in the black community. And therefore, what I actually kind of understood is that, living in the black community for like almost all my whole life before I moved to the suburbs, I had both basketball worlds, right? It's just a lot of some people I know in Detroit, man, like 40% of them, man, they live in the city, have to work outside the city. Had to go on buses and had to go like 15, 20 minutes away from their hometown just to, to feed their family, to go to their place of work. And, a lot of them don't have reliable transportation. That's for a whole no local thing. But I do kind of notice that, black community, I mean, there are some businesses, but for the most part, a lot of the, you got Chinese restaurant, by Chinese, obviously, there are the shops, that we get our, people get our wigs from, to get their nails done, it's owned by the Koreans and Asians. Even your local gas stations, it's not too many black owned gas stations. So we got to kind of figure that stuff out too, man. That comes from more of a trusting issue as well. We got to have the ability to actually open up our own more of our businesses, because we have a lot of talented individuals, and this is why I was going to be working with Khalid is Eternal. And because we're gonna start like a more of a financial type of group and project, and so we can find a way, not only we can teach people how to get their credit up, have access to different business loans as well, man, as I continuously to pursue my endeavors and get into real estate, man. So I'm kind of, make some bumps and bruises, but I'm at least trying to find a way to unlock this code, man, and crack it, man. And I'm gonna share this on this video. But I like how he really explains about the bank lending reform. That's important. Number three, the baby bonds. Now, this was kind of adopted by Senator Cory Booker and Presley. Basically, man, it's a federal program providing every child with a government funded trust account at birth, starting with $1,000 contribution. So they said ideally until if you come from a lower income family, at least by age 18. Right, they should have more than contributions each year up to $46,500. So they're challenging the government to contribute to lower income families, a federal fund for the baby bonus to at least $46,500 each year. So approximately, that's about $837,000. By the age eight, by the time they get to age 18, they'll have at least 837,000. But that money is just not pocket money. It's not for them to spend it on luxurious things. That's only for businesses. That's only for the transactions of going to school. That's really good for different loans and stuff like that, man. So I think that's be a good incentive. There may be a little bit too much though, but I will say, if someone, or home ownership too, because you think about it, you get to age 18, if you don't have too much money, it's like, of course, it's nothing wrong working a job. You have to do certain things like that and build yourself up. I do believe in hard work and dedication, but you got many individuals that want to go to school. They're trying to find a way to achieve the American dream, have, a nice house and, not too much in debt, but it's kind of hard, to get married and to provide, for your household if you graduate from high school with not too many skills and stuff like that. And you're working low wage in jobs, cost of living is constantly going up, little things like that, and you're not making as much money. And then you got like $200,000 in debt, stuff like that. If you're trying to go to school, you got student loans, and it kind of, and you don't even know, say if you do become an engineer, you're making like 60, 70,000 just to start. I mean, it's going to take maybe a few years for you to actually, offset that how much money and debt that you're, getting yourself into before you can actually live your life. So I just think that it should be like more of a better future. So I think I'm in support with the baby bonds. It reminds me of the old commercials, the Gerber Life Grower Plan. You can contribute like a certain amount of money until your child turns at a certain age at 18, so they can have. So I think the baby bonds is good. So we're gonna move on. He talked about the Federal Reserve and government pensions should be a one-time interest rate loan for home ownership. I think that's a good thing. Number five, finance oversight. Basically the overlook and the report on black and minority lending, housing ownership, and mortgages. Pretty much, just not penalize too much on them. Little things like that, man. I think that's a little fair thing. If you got like outstanding balances, man, it shouldn't really hinder you for achieving and acquiring a home. I think that's important. That should be implemented in our community. Number six, you have personal data and credit. So if you comparison to the 1970 Fair Credit Reporting Act, regards credit data guidelines regarding assets records that allow similar privacy, accuracy protection, and a right to correct inaccuracy data. So they shouldn't like discriminate you because you have different like personal bills or cell phone bills and stuff like that and bill payments. And like I said before, it just eliminates you from having adequate housing, and then it's just shotting your credit. Because housing can use for equity. Number seven, you got prison reform, non-violent offenders. Now this is interesting. Should be incarcerated. So okay, non-violent offenders that are incarcerated for 10 years or longer will be free on good behavior standards. And let's say first offense or illegal drug use, should not be going to prison right off. That shouldn't be the first option. They should at least if you're a first offender as far as like drug use and possession, so you get pulled over for marijuana or whatever, DUI, DWI, whatever, it should be a government fine, and then you should use that it should be a requirement for you to go a year or two to go to an approved rehabilitation center to get better. Because I think everybody makes mistakes. We understand that, man. And I do believe that you have to be accountable for your actions and stuff. You have to be punished for that. But I just think that going to jail like that will be kind of difficult, because now, that's going to be on your record. And then you got a lot of people that try to get out. They find all this information. It's hard for them to get a job. So what they going to do? They got to put food on the table. They're going to do illegal activities. and it's very demotivating. And therefore, it's just a huge continuously cycle that you continuously in the system, which is not good. And you have a lot of people that invest in the privatized prison complexes here in America. That has to be eliminated. We'll get to the judicial reforms, eliminate mandatory 3-strike laws, lynching should become a federal hate crime, and also to getting back to the 3-strike laws. Yeah, if you're a 3-time offender or anything like that, you get locked up for any three, misuse or whatever, you locked away in prison. That's the elimination of the 1990 crime bill. So that locked up a lot of people, man. The KKK should be declared as a terrorist organization. That is very key. They're still around here. The Police Reform Act, requirement of mandatory malpractice insurance on the police officers. They should have all body cams. They think that need more diversity training. They need more de-escalation of force. If you use excessive force for no particular reason, if your life is not threatened, and I just feel like, the cops should, be fired and should go to jail. They should be accountable for that. So we talked about that before, make these cops a little bit more accountable for what they're doing, seriously. I mean, because it doesn't make any sense, man. We seen all this stuff that goes on and quick to use the gun and kill you. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like, you got some people that's ridiculous. If a person point a gun at you and you're a cop, yes, you have the right to shoot them. But I mean, it's just little things like that. Sometimes I feel like they need to get more hands-on on things like using their taser or the baton, not physically beating them to death, but get them to the point that they need to calm down and get them to the squad car instead of just quickly pulling that gun. It should be like a last resort. So I need more adaptive training in the police academy. Number 10, the FCC licensing public airways. Shout out to Sean James. He went into detail about that. The black produced content should be equal to 20% on the total content on networks are measured by time. So we should have the same equal opportunity for radio networks, black radio networks as white radio networks and conservative radios. I agree with that. Number 11, Confederate monuments and institutions, elimination of all Confederate statues and leaders. Rename streets. He want to rename streets, schools and private schools, public schools, and put them in, if they're racist, anything racist intent, because history is important. Rename them to something that's more story, someone that's that contribute to this country, with no racist intent. So I think that's good. Memorials should be built in Washington, D.C. to victims of police and excessive force. I like that. Yeah, and I think that's pretty much about it as far as the whole contract thing. Yeah, he really went to detail, and black responsibility is extremely important too. As individuals, I told you before, we have to get back into the Holy Spirit so we can understand where what God's going to lead us. And you read John chapter 16. It really kind of goes into detail of what the Holy Spirit is. It's a person and someone that can really guide us and spiritually guide us Jesus Christ has given us the spirit that he's given us when he is setting into heaven, man. So just give us an insight to really, going ahead and just get into our natural order and providing for our families, through provision and loving one another, man. This is tough. We have to eliminate this whole hopelessness and alcoholism, drugs, that stuff that goes on in the black community on a day-to-day basis, man, that weighs on us and is a very depressive state. The paradigm needs to be shift, and I just like how the contract that Ice Cube is coming up with for Black America it's a good. I think it's a good idea. It's a good solutions. Maybe I think President Donald Trump end up talking to him, reaching out to him, also to Joseph Biden. So I don't know if they're doing it because election time or they really sincere about it. So we'll see. But that's pretty much my thoughts on it. I'm continuously in agreement with it. So I don't want to make this video too long. I might do a part 2 on it. But that's all I really want to say about the whole Ice Cube Black contract of America. I'm in agreement with it, and hope you guys are too. So I'm gonna have a little bit more information in the description box here. So you guys continue to like, comment, subscribe, share this video. Appreciate you guys. I love you guys. I'm out. Deuces.